So yeah, we're talking about Jumia Technologies stock today. No doubt you've seen the stock price getting hammered lower and lower in the past few months. We'll be talking about why this is happening and what we can expect in the future in this video. And if you check out the channel name Investing in Africa, definitely consider subscribing if you're interested in investing in companies in Africa like Jumia. And I've mainly been covering Jumia, but I definitely plan to be looking at a bunch more companies, and I'm waiting on several high profile names which I think will go public soon. To start off, just taking a look at this chart here, you can see after peaking in early 2021, the stock has basically been consistently falling for weeks. It's currently down over 60% off highs. And to be fair, there was nothing of sustenance warranting the massive increase in stock price in 2020, but rather a lot of speculation on the stock, which was really led by a general bullish trend within speculative growth plays in 2020. If you've been following Jumia, you would know that they have had a relatively unimpressive 2020. There was a lot of hope of e-commerce in Africa booming for them because of the pandemic, but it turns out the negative effects from shutdowns and such negated the benefits from increased usage on the platform. So we never saw any sort of revenue boost from the pandemic, and the company actually did say that the pandemic really did in fact hurt their business. And the one thing you need to know about 2020, and honestly leading up to now, is that the company has been focused on achieving profitability, and their means of doing this has been to eliminate all their own products that they were manufacturing. This is called a first-party product, and focus entirely on developing their platform for third-party transactions. This boosts their margins substantially, so it's a good change, but it's a bit like ripping a band-aid off because it decreased their revenues and gross merchandise value, short for GMV, which tracks the total dollar amount of exchanges on their platform. And so they saw a short-term decrease in these metrics because they basically eliminated one of their revenue streams. And so some follow-up questions are, is this working? Are the revenues going back up, and are they profitable? The answer, yes, it's working, but it has taken a good bit of time for the revenues to go back up. And they are very close to achieving that profitability, to which they have seen their operating costs decrease the past few quarters to help make this happen. And looking at the chart here, you can see how much the stock went up this year. And while some is definitely attributed to the company having success with their focus on profitability, I fully believe it's been almost entirely based on huge speculation in smaller cap growth stocks like Jumia, like we talked about earlier. And the past few months of declines proves that. It's not just Jumia that's been getting slammed. As I'm sure you know, most smaller companies whose stocks were up huge in 2020 have gotten hit hard as well. And this exact correction explains why we've gotten down to the 30s where we are today. Don't forget the stock was trading at $2 a share around a year ago. Now let's shift to the future. First and foremost, I do not think that the aggressive pullout of these highly speculative growth stocks will continue for much longer. And we did see somewhat of an attempted recovery this past week. And at the end of the day, who knows, you can never time the market. But eventually things are going to stabilize somewhat, and that could be now or in a few weeks or months. But more importantly for the stock, we have an earnings report coming out in just a few weeks. It looks like it'll be May 13th or 14th, which will likely give us a way to see where the stock price might deserve to be. Remember that a report came out not too long ago that cited how African countries' economies look to continue growing strongly coming out of the pandemic. And so Jumia should grow along with these economies, and from there we should definitely see continued growth in traffic and resulted revenue on their platform. But be prepared to see a muted reaction to their report unless they blow the numbers out of the water, if sentiment in the market is similar to now in May. But as I said, investors could come swarming back into stocks like Jumia anytime now, so that's a dynamic situation. But if you're a long-term investor in Jumia or planning to be, here's something I think you should really take into account, and something I remind myself frequently. Taking a look at this chart of Amazon's stock price, you can see that since it went public in 1997, the stock stayed in the 30 to 80 range for like a decade. So even though it was fluctuating back and forth, it was just kind of staying stagnant for a long time, and then it truly went crazy once the pieces started coming together for Amazon with new technology enabling e-commerce's boom, and Amazon was poised to expand into that. But we talk about going back in time and investing in Apple or Amazon or Netflix or what have you. But I think people don't appreciate the fact that if you invest in the late 90s, you would have to hold the stock for a decade until Amazon truly emerged and the stock followed. Obviously, now looking back, you can see when the perfect time to invest would have been, probably around 2008 or 2009, right when the iPhone came out. But we don't have the advantage of that foresight, nor do we know if Jumia will be successful like Amazon has. We do know this. Africa has a large population and the economies are growing, internet connectivity is increasing, smartphone ownership is increasing. All of these trends are key facilitators of e-commerce. So to some extent, you could argue that this is the perfect time for an e-commerce company to be in Africa, while this market is opening for them. But one key difference is that there is still a large amount of instability in the region. With governmental conflicts, other instabilities, and lots of violence, I think that if African countries can get over some of these deep-rooted issues, the growth will be remarkable. Investing in Jumia really is to some extent investing in Africa, in African countries right now. So if you think the future looks good for Africa, then Jumia is one way to invest in that future. So with that said, that's it for today. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing to this channel, and I hope to catch you next time.